That was both of the monologues that I performed. Some of the choices that I was really working with, I think similarly along the same lines as Sam. Gesture and volume, I think, um, both come up as far in magnitude, like the size of the gesture and the ability to really project when you're speaking to someone. And obviously, Shakespearean actors being outside, one of the things that we wanted to do in the amphitheater was also have that same sort of feel with the audience members above us. So one of the things that we worked with, even though being indoors, was looking up, trying to connect with people on the higher balconies, and also the groundlings, which would be technically below us. So at times, even like looking down to them. Uh, Talking about Iago also gets a lot of asides in this play, and he gets a lot of opportunities to talk to the audience. And it's interesting because um, the dramatic irony of the situation, people are unaware, or well, Othello is unaware that everyone else knows what's going on, and he's really the one being duped, I guess, so to speak. So when he's talking in the beginning about this fellow, he's talking about Iago, obviously. Um, and one of the things that I really enjoyed messing around with, I guess, was how he refers to himself as black, like as a Moor, being like one of the Moorish people. Like, I mean, his skin was black, so he was kind of outcast in that sense from the white society that was very prevalent, especially with the king and the military. So when he talks about the fact that he's black and he's not soft in conversation like women, and he's older than her, and those things, when they're internalized, they hurt. And as an actor, when you're taking those things in, you really can kind of feel the change in yourself, and the volume tends to want to go down. But when you're presenting your flaws to a room full of thousands of people, those things really come out, and it's almost like defiant. And I thought that was one of the pretty interesting things. And it's almost as though you get to plead your case to this giant jury, which is the audience.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we found in both of our performances of the monologues, was that the idea of gesture, especially because it's very much that you want to get something from the audience by telling them this story. And I think Sam was very accurate before when he's saying each one of these words is so important. And one of the things that we talked about before, about how the audience is really in charge of just following along the story. The actors are just really trying to get the story across. And it's not so much about, I guess, what we would consider contemporary sort of acting, where a lot of things can be internalized and really are brought about from this internal and then coming out, and how that can translate on stage. It's about getting the story out there and getting the audience to follow the story. And especially for the groundlings, which would be the lower type societies we've talked about in class and has been reflected in our research, kind of want to make sure that those people know what's going on in this play. So some of those points get reiterated, and you see that with, like, Othello saying, I'm older than her, my skin's dark, and I'm a strong person. I don't deal with feelings very well. I don't deal with women so great. So just kind of reiterating those important plot points is one of the things that the soliloquies also do. And it's not so much a gesture thing.
That
sense, but
I think also, like, in these soliloquies, not necessarily these ones in particular, but in other ones, the audience is almost, when as an actor, when you bring the audience in, they become a character. Exactly. And that character can either be a bystander, it can be someone who's ignorant of the situation, it can be someone who is a juror for asking for an opinion from the audience, theoretical opinion by an actor.
And I think Shakespeare is very aphoristic in that sense, where he offers, I know in my monologue, like, 'tis destiny unshunnable like death. I think that's what he's saying. So I'm pretty sure that's the line. I have it around so much, probably look. 'Tis destiny unshunnable like death. Just proposing these big ideas to the audience, that, like, your destiny is something that is going to be there. I mean, death is part of that. That's in your monologue especially, but I think it comes true in this one too. The idea that, these these bigger things are out there, and that's kind of what's interesting about Shakespeare's work. It's so universal, so everyone who's there at the performance can relate to that.
Yeah.
And that was what I think we were really trying to discover through doing this project. Really, was the way that these asides offer that interpretation.
Yeah. One note that I want to make sure that you know is that we acknowledge that we are not using necessarily correct Shakespearean stage motifs. Just so that we clarify that, we're not focusing on the gestures, the posture, the gestures, the presence, but rather the relationship between actor and
language
audience.
and audience.
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing.
Yeah.
The end.
The end. Thank you.
Thanks for a great semester.